Question 1 shows how they rounded to tenth, hundredths, and the ones. Real quick, I'll go over that. As you can see, it says the tenth. So if I write this to the tenths, it's going to be 43 and 5/10. And you can see right here they have 43 and 5/10. If I add 1/10 to that, I'm going to end up with 43 and 6/10. And that's how far it can get, how high it can get. Now if I add the zeros to it, to 50, where they did 500, but 50 and 60, I can see 55 would actually be the midpoint. Now if I take the number and put it in there, which ended up being right here, 43 and 56. So if it's on the line or above, it went up. On the ones, if I were to round this to ones place, we would start with 43. That's what the number is. 43 plus one more is 44, which would be the top number. Right between 43 and 44 is going to be 43 and 5/10 is in the middle. When you put 43, 586 about to here, we can see once again we're going to round to the top. On the hundredth, if I write to the hundredth, it's 43 and 58 hundredths. So as you can see, that'd be the bottom one down here. If I add one more hundredths, then I would end up with 43 and 59 hundredths, which you can see that's what they have up top. Now, when you put the zeros on there, you can see 580, 590, 585. It helps you find that midpoint. When we take the number in again and we put it in there, it's going to be here. And since it's on or above that midpoint, you would round to the top. On B, it's saying round to the nearest tenth, hundredth, 10, and 100. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. This first one will be the tenth. So on the bottom, write it to the tenths. It's going to be 243 and 8/10. So 243 and 8/10. If I add one more tenths to that, that's going to be 243 and 9/10. That's how high it can get. Now my midpoint, if I add a 0 on here, and a 0 on here, I can see between 80 and 90 is going to be 85. So 243 and 85. Now I'm going to line out the zeros because I want to make sure I'm only going to the tenths. Now when I take my original number, 243, 887 hundredths, I can see that it would be roughly right here. So that means we would round to 243 and 9/10. Let's look at 100ths. If I write it to the hundredths position, I would end up with 243 and 87. So that would be the bottom, 243 and 87 hundredths. Add one more hundredths, which would give me 243 and 88 hundredths, which is how high you can get. In the center, I like putting the zeros in there because I got 870, 880, so 243, and that's going to be 875. And when we put it in there on this one, it's going to be right on the midpoint. Well, if it's on a line or above, you round up. Make sure we take them zeros out so we're only going to the hundredths. So it's 243 and 88 hundredths. Now to tens. If I go to tens, I know the bottom would be 240 because we're doing the tens place. So 240. The next tens would be 250. And the center would be 245. And you can see this one is 243,875. So it's below the line, so we would round to 240. And the last one, the hundreds. First off, we know that 200 is as low as it can go. If I add one more 100, it's going to be 300. Center point is going to be 250. And this point is 243.875. So we'd round down. 2. A trip from New York City to Seattle is 2,852.1 miles. A family wants to make the drive in 10 days, driving the same number of miles each day. About how many miles will they drive each day? Round the answer to nearest 10th mile. This is two problems. First, let's go ahead and do a tape diagram so we can see what we got to do. So we know the total here is 2,852 miles and 1/10. It says that they do that in 10 days. So I'm going to go ahead and just put 10 here. And we want to know how much is 1 day. And we can see that's going to be 2,852.1 divided by 10. We divide by 10, 2,852.1. We can know it's going to get smaller. We're going to move the decimal place one position. So it's going to end up being 285.21. Now they want us to round to the nearest tenth. So let's go ahead and do our number line. The bottom is, we're doing tenths, so we can see that it's going to be 285.2 would be as low as it can go. Well, 285.2, add one more tenth to it, gives us 285.3. So that's going to be how tall we can get, how high we can get, 285.3. In the center, if I put zeros on it so I can see this is going to be in the midpoint, 285.25. Now I'm going to take the zeros back off just so that I know I'm still going to the tenths. Now my original number was 285.21, and I know that would be somewhere right about here, 285.21. So we would round to 285.2. Okay, question 3 says the decimal number has 2 digits to the right of its decimal point. If we round to the nearest tenth, the result is 18.6. What is the maximum possible value of this number? Use words, number line to explain your reasoning. Include the midpoint on your line. Well, let's start with the midpoint. We know it's 18.6, 18.7. Midpoint is going to be 18.65. Now, it says that the decimal number is 18 point something something, and it rounds 18.6. Wants to know the maximum value. Well, if I look at my number line, this one here would be 18.61, 18.62, 18.63, and 18.64. Now, 18.64, since it's below the midpoint, would round to 18.6. If it was 18.65, it's at the midpoint, so it would round up to 18.7. So the highest it could get without and still rotate round down to 18.6 would be 18. Now B wants to know what the maximum value of that would be. Excuse me, the minimum value. Now in the same thing, if you notice, we shifted it because it still wants 18 point something something, but it has to be able to round to 18.6. Now here's 18.5, 18.6, so this is going to be 18.55. Now one thing we know is that if it's on this midpoint right here, it rounds up. If it be here, it would round down. So the minimum value this could be and still be 18.6 would be 18.55.